Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy game weekend, everybody. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. What's up? What's going on?
It's a weird one. It's having them on Monday night early. It's throwing the week off for me. I'm sure it's throwing it off more for you too.
Big time. Yeah. And we haven't had one of these in a couple of years. We didn't have one last year. So and early in the season, I don't know. This is a weird one. We haven't been profiled like this in a long time. So we get the LSU boys together. Burrow v. Daniels.
The last one has to be Seattle. Am I correct in that? Have you had to look that up yet?
What?
Last Monday night football game, wasn't it
Philly.
Seattle at
We beat
home? Oh, it's
Philly.
Philly. That's right. You're right. You're right. It
They were
was Philly.
undefeated and we beat Philly. That was it's like history repeating. I would like to give B-Rob the ball 8,000 times, please, on Monday night, because that's what happened in that one that ended up knocking them off and ending that undefeated season for them. So I'm hoping we actually see a little bit of the history repeating with all of that this weekend. This is also like I've been looking this up because Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick, Heisman winner. They played him. Daniel Jones, not Heisman winner. They get Joe Burrow. So we get the matchup of LSU Heisman winners. Next week's Kyler Murray, Heisman winner. The week after that is Cleveland. If Jameis Winston were to be playing quarterback, Heisman winner. And considering what the news was about their quarterback, who knows, right? Like, who knows by the time. Then they get Lamar and Derrick Henry, both Heisman winners. So interesting little Heisman house going on around here in DC for the first 5-6 weeks of the season.
It's a good call. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's why I get paid the big bucks, Callow, because I look this crap up.
Fair enough. Yes.
Because all I do with my time and my life is look up stats and things to say when the game rolls around. So that's where
Got
we
it.
are. All right, let's get into I'll have obviously a full preview on Monday for you, but like let's get into where we are now because I've actually done enough of the review. And I'm probably, because I'm going to be there, probably not going to speak to you about it on Monday. So I'm going to talk to Kime. You're going to hear from Dan Horde, who's the play-by-play voice of the Bengals as well, and why they're 0-2. And I'll play that on Monday. And I'll give you my keys to the game. But why don't we talk through this a little bit and what I see and what I think. There are 2 weaknesses of the Bengals, and which is why I think in the end, they're not Super Bowl contenders. I think that they're very good, and I think they're formidable. And at 0-2 with that quarterback, don't like the setup for Washington, obviously. And clearly we know what the massive weakness is on the outside and don't love that matchup whatsoever with this quarterback and those receivers. But there are 2 things that work in Washington's favor a little bit to try to, what I would describe as shorten the game again, potentially win time of possession again. And who knows, catch a break here or there, and suddenly they're in a fourth quarter of a close game. And that's what I'm hoping is going to like play out on Monday night. And the first one is, and this is not a surprise to me. By the middle of camp, we talked about this a lot. I'm like, look at the profile of this team. They're heading towards becoming a run team, and probably more than you think, because you picture Jaden Daniels and extending plays with his legs and throwing the ball downfield, and maybe that passing game will develop. But right now, against this team, they ought to go at their weakness, which is the center of their defensive line. They lost a draft pick in camp. They lost 2 players last week, Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill, to injuries, both hamstrings. I don't know as of right now whether they're playing or not, but probably both aren't. They've had to call up. They brought in Lawrence Guy, who's a 14-year vet that was off the street, this past week. So they're very injured in the middle of their defensive line. They're giving up 160 yards on the ground. It's one of the worst in the NFL to this point. And one of the teams they played was the Chiefs, and I love Pacheco and everything, but that's not a run-first team, right? But they ran the ball down their throat because they're weak up the middle right now. So considering, I think, the strength of the Washington offense and the comfort level of the Washington offense is to give the ball to B-Rob, Eckler, and then run design runs with Jaden Daniels, this is the week to do that. And this is why I do think that there's a distinct possibility that this game is closer than people think it's going to be if Washington doesn't turn the ball over a bunch of times or give up a ton of explosive plays, because I actually think they can control the clock against this team, not unlike the way New England did in week 1. And it was funny. I was talking to some of the reporters and they're like, everyone's set up with they're 0-2. They're going to win. They have to win. They're a better team and all that stuff. And I'm like, you are overlooking the fact that a bad team beat them on their home field. And the only thing that they're really capable of doing on offense is handing the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson. And that worked. So I don't know, guys. Like, this game might be closer than you think, because the perception is the Bengals are really good because of their quarterback and receivers and doesn't take into account their weaknesses. And it's significant in the middle of the defensive line right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was going to have to be the case regardless of whatever their weaknesses were, because I feel like this is a game won by complementary football, keeping the ball out of that offense's hands.
100%.
The only way you're going to do that is running the ball. What does worry me is it looks like Higgins is probably going to play on Monday. So that's a nightmare that you have to cover both of those receivers with the way the secondary is going. And the only way you do that is it's kind of like the old 2000s Colts, right? They would score too fast, and then, they finally started to run the ball and they won a little bit more. That's the only way they're going to win this game, is if they play complementary football. Because if the Bengals score fast, you can still go and milk the clock and keep things close and hope you can strike in the end.
The 200 yards plus rushing last week by Washington on the Giants was against, in my opinion, and no offense to the Bengals, a better front and certainly a better middle of the line with Dexter Lawrence. They have faced Vita Vea and Dexter Lawrence and have been able to run the ball effectively the first 2 weeks of the season. I think this line is more built to do that in general. Andrew Wiley looks re-engaged when they run the ball more. He's actually mobile. I would describe him more as probably like a guard in a tackle's body and so I think that this re-engages him. Cosby's been outstanding so far this season. Biotish has been really, really good to start the season. Allegretti looks better in my opinion, at this point in run blocking than pass blocking. So one, this is their strength. Two, they've got a dual threat running back situation that they can lean on, and they've got a quarterback that's mobile. And three, you don't want the Bengals on the field very much with the ball. So to me, it reads like I think you pound the rock here, and I think you go right at them in the middle and you try to see if they can stop it, because in the first 2 weeks, that's where Kansas City and New England both ran it, and they had success. And this is before their starting defensive lineman went out. So the easiest path to shortening this game is running the ball down their throat and moving the chains and having long drives. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a tight game with them. And then let's hope and pray, because I'll hear out everybody who says Chase and Higgins are going to get them. And I agree with that. That's going to happen at some point. But if we're sitting in the fourth quarter and that crowd's getting real weird because they think they're about to go 0-3 to Washington on Monday night and they're turning on that team, well, watch out. So this is, to me, the game is for Washington. If they get away from running the ball, it's on them, and that's why they're going to lose.
That's the other part about this, too, that I'm glad you mentioned, is that crowd has Super Bowl expectations. They're 0-2. And if this team, let's just say the first half goes well and it's 10-3, that's the type of thing that takes a crowd out of it, that really has them lose their minds a little bit. We like to joke around, when Washington beats people, coaches get fired. Well, when fans have a close game against them, they start to freak out a little bit. And so a close first half is actually going to raise the tensions up to a level that I don't think we've seen in a while. This
is a playoff hockey crowd. Yeah. If this game is 1-1 in the third period and you're expected to win, you start freaking out.
Yep.
And, I think also last week proven, Jaden Daniels had his first fourth quarter drive. So cool, calm, collected. The big play was to a guy who'd been here for 10 days. None of this is too big for him. So I'm not worried about bright lights and Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and all that stuff freaking this team out. I just feel like things are different. I don't feel like they're a favorite in any way. And I'm not trying to, go skin tangibles on you here. All I'm telling you is there is a path to this game actually being very close. The two games the Bengals have played have been very close. And it's all going to come down to, can they stop explosive plays from Burrow to Chase and Higgins? And I don't really know the answer to that. One more thing on Washington's offense against Cincinnati's defense. So Trey Hendrickson's had a great start to the season for them. He basically got a rookie left tackle benched a week ago because they just literally could not stop him. He's been in the backfield. I will say this though. Okay. And this is just my little amateur scouting here on this. He goes wide on a lot of plays. He's beating people on the edge, right? So think about that for a second with what our strength is. Running the ball up the middle, B-Rob, Eckler, They did a couple of those tunnel screens in the middle of the field. Jaden Daniels obviously on a zone read situation where I think you could do a few design runs this way. He's going to open up that side of the line. I think we have an advantage in the middle of the line with our interior O-line versus their backups there. So, like, I foresee opportunities to run zone read with gaping holes by Allegretti and Lucas or Coleman, whoever that is. And so, again, it's just another example of if you want to neutralize what's been the best thing that they've got going on their defense, which is his pass rushing ability right now, then it opens up for you. And I like that too. So, like, there's another part of this. Like, if they get into third and longs, we got a problem with this guy. He's really bringing it here early in the season. But if we can keep these things at 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, gives you all the options. He's going wide. It opens the holes up. We move the chains, new set of downs, keep the clock moving, let Burrow sit on the sideline with these very nervous fans. So it's just another part of here's how I think I would attack them here.
No, and I think that was one of my like big positives against the Giants was they ran the ball so well was 2nd and 3rd were so much more manageable throughout the game. And that's what literally was the difference between winning and losing on Sunday. You have to hope that that's going to be the case again because it gives you the option to run on those downs, which is exactly what they need against a team just like this.
Yes. One more thing on the Bengals defense really quickly, because I think I'm going to ask Dan Quinn about this tomorrow when I get a chance to talk to him for the broadcast. And I think Joe Witt may admit this today when he does his press conference. They are also very ball is life. Like I don't love their total package of talent right now on defense, which is just another reason why I'm like, I don't know that it's of a caliber to win, but I will say this about them. They're around the ball a lot. Their cornerback, Cam Taylor-Britt, made an unbelievable interception a week ago against Kansas City. One of those like Odell Beckham one-handed crazy interceptions. They knock a lot of balls out. So like where they are a sieve against the run right now, turnovers make up for literally everything. And they're doing that. And I bet that it's appreciated in this building because of how much they talk about it. So Washington having not turned the ball over yet this season is a big part of the reason why their offense has functioned the way it has and why they're 1-1. Is that going to happen again? Well, I will tell you, this is a very, very, very aggressive group that comes after the ball. They cause a lot of fumbles. So we'll watch that here on Monday night as well. All right, other side of the ball. And one of the big stories all week has been Allen and Payne. Where are they? Right? Where are you at? Where in the world are John Allen and Terod Payne? And so everyone expects them to have a big, I don't know about numbers, a bigger presence. And I would agree with that like their presence has been marginalized in the second game for sure, not in the first one. The weird part about everyone's short memory is that they actually won at the line of scrimmage, and PFF did like a grading of Washington's defensive line, and they won at the point of attack, like at the second highest rate in the league in week 1. They just didn't get any sacks, and they didn't finish the plays, and it hurt them in the end. And it was bad tackling and bad execution to finish plays to get Baker Mayfield down that killed them in that game. Last week, different story. Giants handled them and gave Daniel Jones, of all people, clean pockets. And when he gets them, Malik Neighbors has record-setting days. This can't happen again, obviously. Like, this can't happen again. But here's the other good part of this. Like, when I watch the Bengals, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because it's something that I can't believe I've seen so many times happen in 2 straight games, which is I think that, and I have to believe this, that New England and Kansas City duped Burrow to go where they wanted him to go multiple times. So if you this is what's happened with him. He likes a long drop back. So does Jones. If you give him time on these 5-step drops, he'll kill you, right? And especially with those receivers, he will kill you. We saw what Daniel Jones did. He'll kill you, not down the field, but in the intermediate stuff, will kill you. And Washington didn't get enough pressure on him. But in the case of Burrow, what will happen is if you go wide with your edge rushers, he'll step up into the pocket. And if it collapses in the middle, he'll just take a sack and he will not throw the ball. So this is where the revenge of Allen and Payne can happen. I think schematically, I think you send Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler, Jamin Davis if he plays, maybe a blitzer like Luvu around the edge to make Burrow feel that side pressure because he steps up every time. And you know what? At that point, if Allen and Payne don't finish those plays where the play is forced back literally to them, then I think we have a legitimate complaint about them. So that's where I want to see this happen this week with Burrow. I'm convinced that they're going to get theirs because they're gonna. Like the matchup of Chase and Higgins, assuming he plays against our corners, is not a good one, right? To put it lightly, that's not a good one. But if they can get Burrow to do what he's done the first couple of games, which is get him to step into the pressure in the pocket, which is the strength of our line, then Allen and Payne will have no excuses but to have made plays this week. So another key for them to win is the revenge of Allen and Payne. Schematically get Burrow to step up into the pocket. Allen and Payne now have to win. And if they do, I think they make some plays this week. And then we think differently about where everything is right now.
I think one of the other storylines here with Allen and Payne that I found funny, at least yesterday, I had a very brief show with the Orioles, but I addressed it. The kind of chatter of Johnny Newton. Like, if these guys were actually stepping up in a way this last week, we wouldn't really care what Johnny Newton's pitch count was going to be heading into this game. But I think because everyone's looking for someone on this defense to pretty much just have a spark, I'm not going to say dominate, but spark this defense, you have everyone asking about Newton, and now Newton has a higher pitch count. Everyone's talking about that. I'm almost kind of like, if I'm Allen and Payne, I'm going old school. Like, why do you care so much about that guy? We should be the ones that you care about. So
yeah. I think the this focus on Newton to me is a little overblown. The guy hasn't played very much, and he's coming off a foot surgery. And I think they got a very good prospect at the right place in the draft. But having not seen him play very much, I think it's just a little overblown about what his effect is going to be, especially early, especially when he hasn't played very much. That said, if they can get him more time, I think something happened late last year that I'd like to see revisited by this group as well, where Payne moved to the outside at times and was very effective on the outside at times. And this could be another. This is one of those where 3 true pass rushing defensive tackles, and that's what they have on this team, assuming Newton is that for them, plays really well into what I'm talking about schematically to go after Burrow. That, like, you can't give him a clean pocket. He will murder you, but he will, and it's almost like unconscious now, slide into he'll step up, which shows toughness, but he steps up into pressure if your defensive tackles win. So I want to find a way to get out on the edge, make him feel that step in, and give our guys, our best players, whether that's Allen, Payne, or Newton, the chance to make the plays. And if he does do this and step up into the pocket, because they create the pressure to make him do it and get him to go where they want him to go, if Allen and Payne don't make plays this week, I think that would be the fair time to start criticizing what's going on with them. Last week against the Giants, they were double teamed a ton. Like, there was not a lot of room for them. People just see the clean pockets of Daniel Jones having a good game and they just go, well, they must have been bad. I don't see it that way, but this one's going to be different. This team doesn't max protect like that. They're not going to have all these alignments like this. So, because they want to have their receivers on the field. So I want to see what happens here this week before we make a judgment. And then, the last one is, listen, sorry, Mel. We got to protect the backside here because the game is explosive plays. And if they give up, like, my nightmare for Monday is they come out of the gate and hit some 70-yard bomb to Jamar Chase. And then the place is going crazy. And then we're playing from behind. And now we want to run the ball, but it's taken too long to get down the field. And it takes one turnover to flip the thing upside down. So sorry, Mel, but we got to play guys back. And I know you hate it and I don't love it either. But we got to do what we got to do this week because our biggest weakness is going to be trying to cover 2 outstanding receivers, including one of them that's a top 3 in the NFL. So, and we got to do what we got to do here to stay in this game.
No, it's survive and advance. And like I said, this is the equivalent of the overcorrection. Like, everyone's playing, cover 2 high safeties because they don't want the big play to happen. Do it until some other team figures it out. And that's why you're seeing some really good rushing totals now too. Like, I think a good example of it was Breece Hall last night. Like, they're relying on that guy quite a bit because all these teams are trying to prevent the big plays from happening. You're seeing the teams that can run the ball are actually being really successful. So yeah, it's going to keep on until, people figure it out.
Yeah, we have to do it. I mean, we don't have lockdown corners.
Right.
And they have really good receivers. The weird part is, this is really interesting because, they have a new offensive coordinator there. 14 targets last week went to tight ends. They play multiple 2 tight end sets there. Now, is that going to change with Higgins back? Because Higgins hasn't been there. Maybe, maybe they felt like their best option. Because if you go beyond Higgins and Chase, there is no Tyler Boyd on this team this time. So they don't have this really good third option. So maybe they just feel like they're like how Washington's probably thinking about it. Let's put Ertz and Sinnott out there as opposed to a 3 tight end set because those are better receiving options for us. Maybe they'll think differently with Higgins back, but just note that the ball's been going to Gesicki, Tanner Hudson. They've got this very good, looks very good rookie named Eric All out of Iowa. They're throwing the ball to the tight ends early, not to the receivers. So we'll just have to see how that goes. All right, let me take a quick break and we'll go through the week 3 slate next. Everybody wants to show he's at 6:30 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Here we go, Jim. It's week 3. And let's start with Dimes versus that guy. Giants and Browns. Now, I got to see the Giants in person, so I buy Malik Neighbors. Jones was much better in week 2 than he was in week 1. I think he faces far more pressure from them than, to be fair, because I know I'm living in my rose-colored burgundy and gold house over here. But I think I could realistically view that our defense right now, and I hope will improve, is not at Cleveland's level at this point. But the Browns offensively are messed up. This is going to be a weird close game. I know it. It is. I will reluctantly pick Cleveland at home to win a weird close game, but I think the Giants are in for another weird one, and whoever turns the ball over more loses. So I bet that this game is probably closer than people think. I think people probably think Cleveland will win by 2 touchdowns. I don't think so. I think this game is a weird close game.
I won't say 2 touchdowns, but I think 7 to 10 points throughout the game is probably fine for Cleveland. You got to remember the Giants and Daniel Jones aren't facing Washington, so they're going to be worse next week. So,
of course they are.
So I'm going Cleveland all the way here. Pretty confident in it.
Let's see. Is Jordan Love going to play in Tennessee? I'm shocked he's back this soon. This is one of those I'm tough moments. We'll see if they actually play him or not. And it could be gamesmanship because that typically is a month-long injury that he suffered. He would be back in weeks. That's a little ahead of the curve. So I would more be inclined to believe he'd play next week, but maybe he throws a brace on and he plays with it. And Green Bay's okay with that. Probably be up to the doctors. If he doesn't play, I don't think they'll get away with what they got away with last week. And I like Tennessee to get their first win, assuming Levis doesn't do anything nuts in the game. If he does play, then I don't know what I don't know. And that would be something that I just wouldn't even mess with. So I like Tennessee at home if Love doesn't play. And if he does, I would stay away from something like that because I really don't know how effective he is on that knee, frankly.
I'll go boldly here. Whether Love plays or not, the Packers win this game, I think. They ran the ball down Indianapolis's throat last week, ran for like 250 yards or something, and kept that game close and ended up winning in the game. Now, I think Tennessee's better than the Colts.
They could have won either one of their games and probably should have won the Bears game.
Sure. Right. No, I agree. But yes. What I would say, though, is you just hit the nail on the head. Levis is doing dumb things. And until I see him stop doing dumb things, he's going to blow a close game. So give me the Packers just to be the more calm team here. And we're going to see another Will Levis going crazy highlight. So that's what I think's going to happen.
Okay. Let's see. Caleb hates advice. So we found out after he lost in Houston that CJ Stroud tried to say something to him, and in the name of advice, not getting on nothing. And he didn't like that. If you watched Hard Knocks, it's off-putting how when you try to talk to him, he just kind of has this air of, I don't want to hear it. And then there's all the other, the other stuff that I never care about, but people love to bring up, like outfits he wears to games and all that other stupid stuff that I think is like really meaningless. The body language on DJ Moore was really bad the other day. He admitted that, though. I saw a quote from him where like that looked really bad. And and I think oftentimes it looks worse than it is. Like last night, does Aaron Rodgers really hate Robert Saleh after they scored a touchdown and he looked like he pushed him away? Probably not. Like it always looks worse than it is, and you don't even really know what's going on. And then it hits Twitter and it looks like it's the worst thing ever. Like the only one that I truly believed was Mike Zimmer did look like he wanted to clock Kirk Cousins at one time. Like that looked real to me. I'm going to go with Rodgers doesn't hate Saleh as much as that clip looked last night. But Caleb, this is now example 3 or 4 of if things aren't going his way, he either pouts, doesn't want to hear it. There's something off-putting about it. So he better start playing a little bit better. And I mean soon, because, I think people have empathy for rookies who look like rookies and sound like rookies and act like rookies, but ones that think they're God's gift are going to get crushed in the media. So he better be careful here perceptually. And this is one where the Colts just lost to Green Bay without their quarterback and scored 10 points. Chicago kind of has to win this game. And I actually don't think they will, but I think they kind of have to.
To your Aaron Rodgers point real quick with Saleh, just because we didn't talk about that game. I liked Rodgers what he said. He just said it's early. That's all. Like, don't celebrate too much. It's early. So I liked Rodgers saying that to Saleh. Like, hey, guy, calm down here. Like, it's still the first half. On the Bears, I'm not rooting for their downfall at by any means, but I didn't like the way Caleb acted all through the draft process. And not that I'm actively rooting against them, but like what goes around comes around on this one. And the Bears loaded up around him without him seeing a snap. Like the expectations there, I think we all said it through the offseason, like that offense could be really, really good with all the skill position players they have. And the fact that they have just looked this terrible is actually like the red flag of all red flags. Like if they had shown a couple signs here, a big play here or there, and the totals weren't there, I'd say, fine, they're just going to work through it. But they don't look good at all. Like you said, the body language of Moore, not good either.
No.
I'm like, this is one that could go sideways because if Caleb's doing this too, where he doesn't even want to like listen to another guy that's only in year 2, I don't know how you get through to him at that point.
And then if it goes crazy, well, he's going to be the classic. They're going to fire the coach. It's going to be a new coach coming in. And that always kind of flips things around for a while. So I thought like it was the one thing, like I think this guy Ryan Poles has put together, made some very good trades, obviously, and has put together what is a very competitive roster that's not timed up very well. Well, they've got a rookie quarterback. And I think there's a lot of pressure on him. They named him the starter immediately. I don't blame them. They didn't have anybody else, or they chose not to have anybody else by letting Fields go. And then, and then they kept the coach, who was under fire. And, if this goes wrong, they're going to make a change, or Caleb's going to ask for them to make a change. And then if that happens, it gets real weird, like real fast.
Yeah.
So this is set up for it's going to go a little cuckoo. And if it continues to, by the time Washington plays them, that's going to be some weird headlines. Weird, boy, what goes around comes around. Remember the weird headlines we had playing them a couple of years ago? What, on Thursday night? If they come here with a bad record and Jaden looks great and Caleb looks off and Eberflus doesn't, look as good as his makeover made him in the offseason, oh boy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Super Bowl preview, Texans, Vikings. That's a joke, people. But they've both been very good. The Vikings just beat the 49ers, and it wasn't lucky the way they went about it. The 49ers walked out of that beat up and hurt. I like KOC. I think he's a very good coach. I don't buy Darnold to go far, but I didn't buy Baker to go far last year either. So who knows? And the Texans, as it's turned out, at least early in the season, are very good. And, let's see. I mean, that said, they've played the Colts and the Bears, neither of which look very good right now. So we're seeing them, I think, against a first opponent that is very serious here early. So we're going to find out a lot about both of these teams, I think.
Not to mention that Texans-Bears game was a dogfight. Like, that game wasn't in hand until the fourth quarter by the Texans. Their defense was so good, though, you knew that the Bears probably weren't going to come back. This is a good litmus test, I think, for both teams. We're gonna see whether
Both of them.
like
I agree.
we're gonna see what both teams are made of here. Like if the Vikings keep this thing close, okay, they are a little bit more legit than we think. If the Texans pull ahead by 10, 14 points, we're gonna say, okay, they're operational, they're fine too.
Who dat, Sirianni? Oh man, I love car wrecks. And this one has one written all over it because the Saints are like shot out of a cannon this year for whatever reason. They're the team that's throwing the ball. Mel must love them. They throw the ball down the field and score touchdowns. They've put up 90-something points. One of them was in Dallas. And now they get the Eagles. Short week. Blew a game. Okay, blew a game late. Sirianni's already acting weird in the press conferences about who spoke to the team and who didn't. And one of them wasn't him. The coach didn't speak to the team after the game. Now they go down there. They're catching the Saints, obviously at the wrong time to catch them. I am glad we're playing them in December now because I don't want nothing to do with them right now, the way that they're scoring. And the Eagles could very easily be 1-2 after this. And if they have a defensive breakdown day where they get 40 points put on them and they lose badly, it's going to get weird up there fast, like really, really fast.
This is one of those games. It's kind of like it's too easy. It smells like I feel like I want to pick the Eagles just because everybody's picking the Saints and it's a home game for them.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't,
like,
not obviously I can't, engage in any of that stuff, but like I wouldn't touch this.
Right.
Like there's something ain't right about that one. It isn't.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too. I talked about this on my show a little bit. I think Hurts, this is the game where he probably steps up and doesn't make these boneheaded decisions because he's probably starting to feel it a little bit. We've had 2 weeks in a row where he's had not just a bad interception, but like stupid interception where he threw the one in triple coverage with Green Bay, then the one where he didn't have to throw it up at the end of the game with the Falcons. I have a feeling he's going to play really well this weekend, win or lose, because not that there's like huge danger of him getting benched, but if he throws up another stupid interception, you know how that crowd and that media is going to get up there, and it's going to be, oh, you're making $50 million a year and you're throwing it into triple coverage. Why are we paying you this money? And it's going to get really bad really fast if they lose. So I think he's going to step back up.
Let's see. Bucks will nick Sean Pepe, which is my favorite line that I've written today. Bo Nix does not look good. Now he's going to get the exotic blitz package of the 2-0 Buccaneers. I'd be surprised if Denver wins here. I would be very surprised. It's down there too, right? It's in Tampa. Yeah, I'd be surprised if they figure it out here early. So that would put them at 0-3 with a rookie quarterback. And if they were to turn to anybody else, it would probably be Zachy Zach. Good luck, Sean, with that. Good luck. A lot of luck with that in that division. Good luck. You haven't played the Chiefs yet. Good luck with that.
I think this is the biggest blowout of the day. I think that's the biggest blowout of the day is the Bucks against the Broncos.
Very possible. My red zone specials this week: Carolina, Las Vegas, and unfortunately Miami, Seattle because of the Tua injury. Let me know how it goes up there, boys, because I just don't care about Skylar Thompson. So good luck with that. And then Carolina, Vegas. Andy Dalton, I assume, makes Carolina a little more reasonably competitive, but we're staring down Vegas being 2-1 and asking the question, are they good next week? So I guess we'll just have to see. All right. What could be game of the day and yet another car wreck game for sure. The Ravens could be 0-3 very easily. Dallas could be 1-2 very easily. Dallas has already been blown out at home once. And I trust that the Ravens are going to turn their season around. And it could start here. This one, the post-game press conferences, either way, are going to be amazing. Amazing.
This is one I have pegged too, especially with how it's gone for Dallas these first 2 weeks. I think this is going to be a very heavy Ravens crowd over there in Dallas,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Like, I think Ravens fans, like I've said before, are one of the more underrated traveling fan bases. And I'm sure they circled this one knowing that they don't go to Dallas that often either.
Every 8 years.
Right. So I'm guessing this one actually goes Ravens heavy. And if it goes sideways early, which it usually does with the Ravens, right? Like they usually go up early in every game. oh boy, those crowd shots are going to be amazing. I'm with you though. End of the game is going to be great regardless.
Yeah, I think they're going to ask Jerry after the game why he didn't go after Derrick Henry. That's what I have a feeling is going to be the question when he scores 2 touchdowns on them this weekend. And I just can't picture the Ravens at 0-3. So I think they're going to figure out a way to win. We get Rams and 49ers without the Rams or 49ers. So this game means nothing to me because of how many stars are not playing in it. I don't think it's going to be indicative of where either one of these teams are by the end of the year. But the Rams, I think the 49ers are a little deeper and more built to win. So I expect them to, even on the road, even without a number of their stars. I don't know how, I can't see how LA is going to score very much with the people that are missing. So, that's this is an unfortunate one. Like, this should have been a great matchup that's just missing too many people. We've got kneecaps versus take the bus. Detroit, Arizona. Arizona pulls this off, okay? If they win, they'll have beaten the Rams and Detroit and near missed at Buffalo. That's not going to be pretty on a short week for us.
Yep.
At all.
Yep. Exactly.
So the take the bus guys getting the last laugh here.
I've told you this too. I don't like Detroit early here. Like I've said, how are they going to react to the extra pressure? This has trap written all over it, especially with how good the Cardinals have played. And now you get the Lions again reeling just a little bit. I think this one's actually really close. I'm not going to pick a winner, but I think it's really close.
I'm going to take Lions as I kind of trust them. I can't believe I'm saying this, but modern NFL, I do. I trust them. Third tough game that they've started the season off with. I mean, they've had a really rough schedule here early. And this one's on the road for them too. I'm going to take them. I think you're like, we'll fight you. What was it in the gravel pit or whatever he said they were going to do? We'll fight you anywhere. We'll fight you in a junkyard. Like, I think we're going to get one of those. You'll find out if Arizona can keep up with something like that. And I think Detroit wins, probably a close game. And then the last one is, I mean, Kirk can't win 2 straight night games, right? I mean, like that's, he can't beat Philadelphia and Kansas City, right? Back-to-back weeks. Like, I know it's in Atlanta, but I don't think so, right?
If they keep it close, you never know. If he gets the ball last, I'm just saying. Kansas City's banged up too.
They are banged up. Pacheco's hurt, right?
Pacheco's hurt. They had to sign a running back and then put Hunt on the practice squad. By the way, they haven't really activated Kelsey yet. Like, he has like nothing this year so far. I'm just saying, possible trap game here. I think the Chiefs win, but they are banged up here a little bit, and the Falcons are riding the momentum.
Oh, man. Boy, Stephen A. and McAfee are going to love it if the Falcons win. Get to talk about them winning back-to-back against the Eagles in Kansas City, especially if they're close and especially if it's a comeback again.
Yep.
Nelly. I got KC, but I'll see it. I'll hear it out. It's not like they go undefeated, so I'll hear that one out. Yep. All right. One of the all-time great scorers in NWSL history, Ashley Hatch, will join us next. Brad, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.